Today, we're going to install these wheel spacers on this Maserati. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. Hey, here's my Maserati GranTurismo, and I hate the fact that these wheels are so inboard on this particular car. So it's one of those things that Maseratis are known for. It's on the GranTurismo and the Ghibli and the Quattroporte, and the wheels are really inboard. And I don't know if that's a European thing. I know that some automakers put some little flanges and wings on the wheel wells to kind of accommodate and comply with European laws, but these wheels are really inboard. It's probably going to be a little hard to see, but I'm going to show you what I mean. So these are the stock wheels on this car, and you can see here that if I kind of go in and out, you can see how much those wheels are inboard. You know, down here you can see the top of the wheel arch is probably sticking out about an inch further than the top of the wheel, and there are parts of the wheel here, like these spokes, that bulge out just a little bit, which give you the illusion that it's a little further out. But if you look at the top of the tire there, it is so far inboard. And on the back, it's even more pronounced because you have some really muscular haunches up here. And then what happens is your eye is drawn to this curve, and so you expect the wheel to meet that curve, but what ends up happening is that that wheel and that tire are way inboard. It's not even there. There it is. There she is. There she is. And so what I want to do is push those wheels out just to fill out the wheel. I'm not going to put on bigger wheels or tires, but I'm just going to put on these wheel spacers. Now I got 25 millimeters for the front, which is almost an inch, and I got 30 millimeters for the back, which is over an inch. And so we are going to definitely push those out. I actually don't care if they are further than the edge of the wheel well here, because this little round portion kind of gets broken up by this flat piece. And so actually I think the natural curve follows this radius, and so the wheel should actually be sticking out just a little bit, not a lot, but I think that will actually jive with what your eye is seeing and what you expect. Let me see if I can illustrate it a little bit better with this piece of cardboard here. So if I just put this cardboard up here against the wheel and now ride it all the way up to the fender, you can see how much space there is. So that looks like over an inch, which is why I was sold on going for at least 30 millimeters. And that's just to get to the outer lip here. That's not even to meet this kind of rolled edge. Now, if we go over here to the front, same deal. If I put this cardboard right up against the wheel here, just like this, and push it up, you can see how much space there is between the fender and the wheel. So let's check out these BLOXSPORTs that I'm going to install here. This is what I purchased to install here, and there's a few reasons. It kind of matched all of my criteria. First of all, this is by BLOXSPORTs. Now, the company name is actually called Banas, formerly BLOXSPORTs, but you can find these online, and I like the fact that they were black because my wheels are black. I thought they would hide a little bit better and maybe even look a little bit like they were part of the black wheel. Now, I ordered, like I said, these 25 millimeters for the front and 30 millimeters for the rear, and this is how they come, just different depths. And you can see we have a knurled edge here. And the other thing I really like about it was that this is an aluminum alloy, but it's 7000 series aluminum, and they are forged, so they should be very, very strong, as opposed to something that is kind of a lower grade aluminum and maybe cast as opposed to being forged. They also come with these studs that are screwed into these holes, which are going to receive your stock lug nuts. You're going to actually unscrew these and put them in there, and you can see here, because they're tapered and the holes that they'll go in will be tapered, they are going to fit below the threshold here, below the surface, and so you are going to basically get new holes to mount the wheel and the studs. Now, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that you can use the parking brake to hold this rotor in place so that you can center this. On the front, you're going to either need someone pressing the brake pedal to hold the brake rotor in place, or you're going to want to brace that brake pedal down with a stick or a pipe. So let's get this car jacked up and get these wheel spacers installed. So here we are on the front wheel. I removed those 13 millimeter bolts, and I have the brake actually ingeniously pushed into place with one of my sit packs, which is awesome because they're adjustable and it's putting pressure on the brake. I did pump them to make sure that it's got a good grasp of the rotor itself. Now, I wanted to show you here that this fits on just like that, and as you can see, you actually have to push it on because of it's milled so precisely to that center of the hub. So that's pretty awesome. And now we just line it up with the actual original holes. So you might have to do a little adjustment and kind of pull it off. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the bolts that come with it and screw this to the rotor and the hub itself, and then tighten those down to spec. So we'll finish the front up here. So got the rear wheel off, and you do have to remove these screws here because there are no recesses in the back of the spacer to accept them. I don't think it'll matter, and because you have the emergency parking brake holding this rotor in place, that'll keep everything lined up. So that looks like it is a 13 millimeter. So that's what you'll need to remove those, and then just clean this up, all that little rust and whatnot, and start putting the spacer on. So I've got the rear spacer on. The screws or the bolts that are in these little holes are transplanted to here, and you can see they are very recessed, so they won't interfere with the wheel at all. Now we're going to put the wheel back on and use the original lug bolts to go into those holes, and that should hold the wheel on. And you can see here how much that adds, just a little over an inch, 30 millimeters. I also will say that these BLOXSPORTs are perfectly fit for the hub center here, so you don't need any centering ring or anything. They are a very tight fit. Actually, you've got to kind of tap it on there, so that gives me a lot of comfort knowing that these are going to be precision. Let's get it on. Hopefully that wheel will look sorted. Got the wheel spacers on. Probably the hardest part of the whole project was getting the old wheels just off of the rotors. They tend to corrode on there, so you gotta get underneath with the 2x4 and kind of bang them off. That's the old trick I've always used, but I love the new spacing. In fact, I may have been able to even go a little wider in some cases, but I'm just happy the way it is. First of all, let's take a look at this front wheel. You can see here now, as I go over the lip, you can see that even the spokes of the wheel still stick out there. So if I'm hanging right over it vertically, you can still see the wheel just peeking out of there. Now you can actually see that the top of the tire is still tucked under there pretty decently. You can get that fully covered. And so I know that I was debating whether to go with the 25 millimeter up front or the 30, and I probably could have gone with the 30 and been happy with that. I know some guys go with the 22, but I'm certainly happy I went with the 25 because even now it still leaves maybe just a little bit of room. Now really the big reason is there is a huge difference between the top and the bottom. This side rolls in so much. That's what kind of gives it that illusion of not being covered, but you can actually see tire down there. This is all just dust. So I love it, just so much more flush. Now, if we go to the back here, this is darn near perfect for me. You can see as we go back and forth here how close it is now. And again, if I go right to the top, you can kind of see that wheel still peeking out. If I'm right dead top here, and you can still see the kind of the high parts of the spokes just peeking out there. So that is great, and it's so much more flush with the fender. And you can see what I'm talking about here, that roll of the fender then just drops down straight here where we have this cut. You feel like your eye says that this should roll out and meet the wheel here. And so when the tire is tucked way back in there, it's just kind of like visually jarring. But this fills it out so much better. I definitely love that. You know, it's a subtle change on video. It might not be the easiest thing to see, but it just kind of makes the rear, which looks pretty muscular with all this flat surface and kind of the broad nature of the back end here, just feel like the wheels are filling it out and kind of more planted. And kind of visually, again, you kind of feel like there's a wider tire on there, even though all I've done is taken the tire and moved it out a little bit. So I really love that. So if you want to pick up these spacers, these BLOXSPORTs ones are great. And I can actually show you here. You can see the black spacer in there, and it matches the wheel pretty nicely. Obviously it's a knurled, so it's not the same color by any means, but what you can see there is it's not quite as distinctly different in color. A lot of them are silver or that gray, and so it's going to look like a bigger hub in there, which is fine, and I have no problems with that, especially if you're running a silver or a gray wheel. But I really like the black. It actually works really well with this. I haven't put the center caps back on because I'm actually going to put a different cap back on there, but pretty excited. Man, that's great. Love it. Hey, if you want to pick up these BLOXSPORTs, they took a couple weeks to get because they come from overseas, I'm almost positive. But man, they just do a great job of kind of just that subtle change is one of those things that doesn't irk me anymore. Awesome. Links in the description. Peter from Panda. Out.